Hold on. Do you need a Band-Aid?
Do I need a Band-Aid?
Yeah.
Am I cut?
Did that question feel weird?
Yes. Am I bleeding?
Solutions offered without problem defined are awkward, intrusive, and weird, which is 99% of social media.
Mr. René Rodriguez!
Social media, you get a 3-second audition for attention. And the reason it's an audition is because I have a thumb that could just get the next thing. It's the anticipation of something better, which means dopamine with no effort. We are in a world full of fake dopamine. It becomes something that will slowly deteriorate your life, slowly kill you. If you don't self-reflect, I don't know what else you have. A comedian, before they come out on their main show, they're going to do open mic nights. They're going to test jokes. The willingness to practice over and over and over and over again and fail over and over and over and over again. That's what people need to do, is understand themselves first, and then understand their audiences and what's working, what's not, and then what problem are they trying to solve, and address that.
What is a frame?
We understand life through context and through frames of reference. Netflix made no sense to us. I can choose what I want to watch, when I want to watch it, but I thought I go to Blockbuster. These things that have no frame of reference are hard for us to understand and usually become disruptive. If I want to control the meaning of something, it's about the frame that's around it. Stories are constructs of reality. If I own the frame, I own the narrative. If I own the narrative, I own how you explain life. If I own how you explain life.
Before we get to the episode, will you please subscribe? And if you like it at the end, make sure you drop a like, and we'll make sure every time a new episode comes out, you get it first.
René Rodriguez, welcome.
What's up, man?
So good to have you.
Good to be here.
What is influence?
Oh man, that question is asked all the time, and I think there's a lot of good definitions out there. I think the word, when they added the ER to the end, I think it ruined the whole idea. And I personally think the world of the influencer is dying, if not dead. So to me, influence is the ability to get somebody to capture someone's attention, and then more importantly, get them to act on what you say. And so, like, from a speaking perspective, because we used to think about it as public speaking, but it's really, what are people going to do? What behavior are they going to engage in that in the absence of your words, they would have never done? Another way of saying that is leadership.
So when you think of influencers and how they've ruined influence, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's not even that they ruined it. I think it's that, yeah, maybe they did ruin it. Let's just say that. I think that they have abused, in a lot of senses, the psychology of persuasion and influence, the perception of something that isn't there, the facade. And you know that because when you get an influencer that has to do a live presentation, they can't edit it. It's a very different person. If they can't control the angles, control the lighting, can you just show up and talk, and is there value there? Now, are there some influencers that are really valuable? Of course. But the goal to be an influencer, I think you need to have a goal of achieving something, doing something, creating an impact that just then creates the influence you've been trying to do. Because now you're not an empty suit, right? There's substance inside of that suit that you're wearing.
I can't tell you how many podcasts I've listened to with people who are maybe Instagram famous, but you get them talking long form, and it's like, there's nothing there.
Yeah. I think the most influential people in my life don't even have Instagram accounts.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, these are people that have done big things. They don't have time. Now, they might have people documenting what they do is one thing, but they don't even know how to use it. Now, I'm not saying I've had to do it. I think it's important, but I don't want people to lose sight that it goes far beyond just that. That is one form. Social media is one form of many.
So when I think about working in the workplace, and I want to be more influential with the people that surround me, right? Even with customers on pitches, what are 2 or 3 things that I can do today to get better at doing that?
That's almost like saying, what's the best golf club to use? Right? People say, well, the driver. I said, okay, well, what if you're on the putting green? Wrong club. And so influence,
so it was a
leadership.
Stupid question.
No, I think it's now. Yeah, well, I think it's what people want to know, but I think the cool answer is that there's multiple uses, and body language is a piece of it. Your tone, your sequence, how you dress matters. And I'm not saying that, but people say, well, you have to wear a suit. No, not always. I was always a suit guy until just a few years ago, but sometimes a suit is the right thing to do. If you're going to a funeral, it might be the right thing to do. right? If you're going to a big staged event, depending on who you are, it might be the right thing to do. So, well, Mark Zuckerberg does this. Well, he's a billionaire, but he started that way. He held that tight. Not all of us can pull that off, but some of us can, right? It all depends, right? And so there's so many different things that come with that. But I think that, to me, true influence begins on the inside. Like, who are you? What's your story? What do you believe? What are the values that you engage in? Do you have the ability to articulate an idea? And so there's a skill set to that, but then I think there's also a journey into that. Like this podcast, I tell people the best thing about a podcast is it allows me to regurgitate things that I've been just thinking and ruminating in my head. And so they're like, well, you said this so well. I go, well, I've said it a few thousand times in here by myself and through boring conversations. And so there's a time where I can just say, well, this is what I've been thinking. And if you don't self-reflect, I don't know what else you have. And so might be the answer might be self-reflection, contemplation, running ideas through your head, testing them out. What I call open mic nights. Like a comedian, before they come out on their main show, they're going to do open mic nights. They're going to test jokes. They're going to bomb a certain percentage. They're going to see which ones crush the audience, which ones are good. Like, you remember when Dave Chappelle left and he just disappeared? He came back for like a year, almost a year and a half. It might have even been 2, without telling anybody. And he would show up here in Minneapolis. And I had friends that were like, oh my God, Dave Chappelle just showed up at the bar. And then he came up to my room and we smoked weed that night. I don't smoke, but these guys did. And I'm like, Dave Chappelle, wasn't he in Africa or something like that? And he goes, yeah, he was just there. And he was just getting a feel for the audience. He was getting a feel what worked. What was the zeitgeist? How had the era changed? And he only knew how to do that by just getting in the mix and didn't tell anybody. And then all of a sudden he comes out 2 years later with these like game-changing specials. I think that's what people need to do, is understand themselves first, and then understand their audiences and what's working, what's not, and then what problem are they trying to solve, and address that.
So that brings me to an interesting topic that keeps arising at this table, which is intuition, right? The ability to read a room. And do you believe that that is something that can be learned, or is it something that you're kind of born with?
I thank God that influence is a science that can be learned, because if it was something that I was born with, I wouldn't be here. You go back to my old videos and I'll show them to you, or it's probably a good clip to put my video from 2003 up there, 2002. Oh my God, what was I wearing? And it was a commitment to saying, okay, someone's figured this out. Why can't I? There's a way, there's a sequence, there's a timing to it. And then the willingness to practice over and over and over and over again, and fail over and over and over and over again. And then you start having an intuition. People are like, well, you're born with it. I said, no, it's like telling a virtuoso that they're lucky. No, they do this all the time. And there's hours and hours and hours. Now, some people might be born with a predisposition, maybe a little more serotonin, maybe a little bit more testosterone, but then there's an environmental factor. Who's around? What's going on? Like, what were their parents like? And did they have coaches? Did they have early successes? Did they have early failures? Did they, what was the narrative around failure? What was the narrative around food and money and all that stuff? All that stuff becomes part of the algorithm.
Okay, so it sounds like something you really believe heavily in. It sounds like you do a lot of is self-reflection. So if I wanted to get better at self-reflection so that I can improve my ability to influence, how do you set up doing quality self-reflection?
First, keep it easy. What worked, what didn't, and be honest.
So you mean like sit in a quiet room and...
Hey, you're driving home. So I learned that doing after-call reviews, after-action reviews, right? We call them postmortems. Sometimes you go on a sales call. Well, this worked, that worked, that worked. I sucked at this. This bombed. Why did I forget this? And you just do that. Sometimes you write them down. And if my manager would say, just write it down. 3 things that worked, 3 things you need to improve on. And I was like 18. So I was like, okay, I did those 3 things. But then it becomes a habit. Then it becomes an obsession. And then you start realizing that, Zig Ziglar said, if you haven't recorded yourself, you're not in sales yet. So you have to record yourself. Audio back then, so you have to buy those recorders. But now we have them on our phones. But then, okay, well, how do I know body language? Well, I have to video every single thing. I'll be watching this. Was this right? Did I have, was there dust over here? Like, I'm going to watch all that stuff.
Now you got me thinking about the dandruff on my shoulder.
Yeah. Well, and some people mistake that for vanity. I say, no, it's just distraction. And so there are facets to say, is there a self-awareness of how I'm showing up? Is there something that might distract. I did this great video and I had one of my pockets, the jacket pockets up, and then one corner looped in. So it was just this really, and it just bothered
Like
me.
on purpose? It was totally
No, it was
accidental.
totally
So
accidental.
you go back and watch it and you're
And I was like, and I couldn't get past it. Now I'll probably take heat for that, but it was like, that was fixable. So then I just tuck them in.
Yeah.
I always just tuck them in. So that's just not an issue. So I'm eliminating all of these potential distractions. But the end goal, honestly, is 2 words: organized quality. There's an organized quality to this person. That is a subconscious message. Now, for me, I had to look at that stuff. I didn't have the charisma. I didn't have the language. I didn't have any of that stuff. I had to utilize what I could control.
Mm.
And if people don't believe that, play that old clip. Let's look at those old photos. Like that guy that was trying to be, that's the guy that had to try to figure out how to penetrate an idea with a person, get somebody to trust them. And I had none of it going for me, like zero.
So how do I figure out if I'm putting off the wrong vibe or I make people feel awkward, but I don't know that I'm doing it? How do I record it, watch it? But what if I can't even read
Have
my own?
people around you that you trust. I think haters provide some value sometimes, because sometimes a hater will tell you the things that nobody will tell you. Like they'll say, I'm like, what if there's something to that?
What kind of things have you been told?
Oh, I get a lot.
You give it to me.
Oh, I look like a thumb. That's one of them. This guy looks like a thumb.
A thumb.
Yeah, there's I think it's 200 accounts right now over one video that I did that make fun of, that I asked people what their favorite color is. And it's just your daily, what's your favorite color? Because the way I answered it, I was illustrating the power of sequence and how people take a stupid question and can make value out of it. So they say, what's your favorite color? People say green, blue, everything. I said, ask me mine. Oh, my favorite color is, well, I was born in Miami, Florida. And I went down to create the frame first. And I was doing it with a stupid question from a training perspective. But of course, in the internet and their infinite wisdom doesn't look at the context. They look at one piece. They're like, just answer the effing question. And there's thousands and thousands of comments of people just hating it. And I was laughing about it. And then this guy made an account recently that he's going to take that clip, just it's like 5-second clip, and post it every single day.
Of you
Of me saying that, and then just the hate that just comes, and just anger that it incites.
he's just promoting you.
Well, I sent him a message. I comment. I said, this is actually pretty funny, right? And he sent me a message back, or I think I sent him a message, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded. He goes, it's just, I'm 14 years old. It's my generation's form of humor. And I said, that's great, and I go, have at it, but I do watch some
At least
of
he
it.
wasn't 37 living in his mom's basement.
Yeah, that would have said something. But I think that the point is, I think you can learn from anything. Now, do I take it personally? I try not to. Some of it is, I think in the beginning, you watched it because I have other videos that people just get upset about. Some people, videos that people love, but you realize that the more profound the lesson taken out of context, the more it might incite people. And it also shows me the lack of awareness. Like people that make fun of those kinds of things, I already know they've never faced a game-winning shot. They've never faced 3,000 eyeballs expecting value to be delivered immediately. They've never had to do a TED Talk where you're going to go on a 40 million person subscriber list and you have 13 minutes to be relevant immediately. It's a lot of pressure. And then you realize at that game, it's biology that plays. Is my brain going to function under this level of pressure? Am I going to remember what I need to say? Can I jump to the point immediately? But then watching that, I'm like, you know what? I could probably communicate that a little bit better instead of, because I come from a background of being able to have people for a day or 2 days. Social media, you get a 3-second audition for attention. And if you're not hitting those 3 seconds, you're going to trigger something right away. And so I go, what could I do in those 3 seconds a little bit better? Instead of saying, well, I'm going to be depressed. No, I don't do that. I'm like, all right, that's interesting. How could I solve that? And that's, I think, where innovation sort of begins.
So when you think about attention, especially in our world of, some people say we all have short attention spans, and maybe in certain formats we do. Long form does very well on YouTube now. But when you think about attention and that 3-second audition, what are things I can do when I'm posting something that I can grab attention immediately?
So the word is hook, which is another one that's overused and very misunderstood. A great book called Hook Point. I think it's Brendan Kane wrote that book. He nails it. And but then even hooks from since then have changed. But the idea is And let's back up. Why is it this 3 seconds? And do the people have short attention spans? I don't know. Why do we watch full-length movies with our family? Why do we sit and binge watch TV shows? It's
I
not
know
about
I'm stuck rewatching Breaking Bad right now,
watch,
and I'm like, I've seen it,
and it's still good.
and it's still good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
some of it, I'm like, I don't think I caught that the first time.
No, there's so many levels to it. But it's like we have attention spans. The way we capture it is different now. And so there's an audition. And the reason it's an audition is because I have a thumb that could just get the next thing. Like, and so what's the psychology and the neuroscience behind the thumb? It's the anticipation of something better and very low effort, which means dopamine with no effort. Because dopamine is secreted in the anticipation of reward, not in the reward itself. And so if I go, well, this sucks, and I have this thumb, I can just move it this way, and I might get something better, just like a slot machine. I pull it, I might get it. It's the anticipation of reward. That's why it's so addicting. In psychology, they'll call it variable ratio reinforcement. There's 4 types of reinforcement: variable ratio, a fixed ratio, variable interval, and fixed interval. So intervals are on time, ratios are on amount, right? If it's fixed, it's every 5th time you get a reward. If it's variable ratio, every 5th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, you don't know, it's unpredictable. That's the highest amount of dopamine. It becomes the most addicting. And so that's where even abusive relationships become addicting. You don't know when that next good compliment's going to come, but you just wait for it and you get it. And it's like, oh, and it hits. You don't know when that next swipe is going to lead to a better video or a better piece of information. And so when you have options available and then you have easy access to the next one, it just becomes this endless cycle.
So when I can use my thumb to keep getting dopamine for free, basically, does that mean that there is some relevance to the fact that if you withdraw from social media, you can get depressed?
100%. It's addicting. And so I have this sign above my computer that says no fake dopamine. That means it stops me from so many things, whether it's, taking a little bit of Adderall or doing an energy shot or doom scrolling, whatever it is, or a project that is easy to do but not important, right? And so if fake dopamine is any dopamine that's secreted with no effort, becomes something that will slowly kill you, slowly deteriorate your life. And we are in a world full of fake dopamine, and I am not immune to it.
Yeah.
It's there and available.
What other things do we do that give us fake dopamine other than scrolling?
Scrolling, pornography, clicking on something, to a phone call, posting something on social media for validation, procrastination, you name it. There's so many easy things. An energy drink, just any sort of external pill or drink, feel free. All of that stuff is all that stuff.
So back to something you mentioned about, you used the term frame. And this is something that I've always been fascinated with, especially with the way you teach it. Help me understand what is a frame?
A frame is the window in which we view the world. So if it's, we understand life through context and through frames of reference. That's why Uber made no sense to us at first. There was no frame of reference. Netflix made no sense to us. I go to Blockbuster. I can choose what I want to watch, when I want to watch, but I thought TV Guide told me when I wanted to watch something. They chose. Now I get to choose. There's no frame of reference to that. And so that, like Xerox when it first came out, that's why it held the name. I Xerox something. No, it's a brand name. No, I photocopied it. And so these things that have no frame of reference are hard for us to understand and usually become disruptive. And so for you to understand something, if I want to control the meaning of something, it's about the frame that's around it. If I were to say used car salesman, what's the first word that comes to mind?
It's cheap and sleazy.
Right. So to understand used car salesman, you had to go back into your past experience, pull your frame of reference and the experiences that come with it, to pull those to the present, to surround that title, to understand it. Now, if somebody had used car salespeople, like for example, if I were to say my grandfather was in Cuba right before the Cuban Revolution, and he knew that this revolution was good for his family, so he had this bright idea to write a letter to the president of the United States at the time saying, if you get me and my family out of this country, I'll come and fight for yours. So they pulled him out. They somehow got to the right person, my grandmother, my aunt, my mother, and he served in the American Armed Forces for 8 years.
No kidding.
All in search for his American dream. After 8 years, he finally made his American dream. He landed in Homestead, Florida. Now, in Homestead at the time, there was nothing there except for Patrick Air Force Base. So his income was limited to how far he could walk. But there was somebody who believed in my grandfather, saw what he did for this country, and got him into this older vehicle. That older vehicle allowed him to extend his reach by 25, 50, even 100 miles, finding better income, changing the trajectory of his life, my mother's life, and ultimately my life. And that person who believed in my grandfather was a used car salesman.
Mm.
So now, did you have any negative thoughts about him?
No, it made me glad that this person helped your grandpa.
Right. So because I claimed the frame first, I owned it through story, which is the most powerful form of influence there is, because stories are constructs of reality. If I own the frame, I own the narrative. If I own the narrative, I own how you explain life. If I own how you explain life, I own your perception of reality.
So this is why the media is so powerful,
Yes,
because they control the story.
they control the story. And we use story and narrative as a construct of reality.
So how do you know, like we've all met those people when they start telling you a story, you're like, oh, here we go again, another story from so-and-so.
Mhm,
How do you know if your story is too long-winded and you embellish too much and you lose people
mhm.
versus getting the necessary amount of framing in the story to get the point across?
So we all know people who are good storytellers. We also know people who just love to tell stories. And there's one difference. So a person who is a really good storyteller uses the story as a means by which to deliver value. It's a means by which. The person who loves to tell stories doesn't use the story, they use their time
Mm,
just to tell us a story.
mm.
And at the end, we've waited for this and there's no payoff. So we're like, and there was nothing back. It wasn't for me, the story, it was for themselves. They just wanted to tell a story. Maybe it's to name drop, talk about themselves because they like doing it, whatever it is. There's no payoff at the end. And so the way to overcome that is to have what's called a tie down. Tie down answers the question at the end of that story. So the reason I share that story with you is this. And there's a payoff, there's a message, there's a moral, there's a lesson. That's what movies provide. And so we will watch the story to get to that end. I'll listen to your story to get to the end. Now, the golf club analogy works here too. Story isn't always the right place to start. Story isn't always the right club. If I'm at a budget meeting, so let's say you're in a budget meeting and you ask Rene, are we on track or off track? And I say, well, Charles, I remember when I was a kid, you'd be like, no, Rene, I need to know, are we on track or off track? It would drive you bananas. The wrong club, the wrong tool to use in that moment. And so Shark Tank, they don't start with story. What's the first thing out of their mouth? They say, hi, we're seeking $500,000 in exchange for 10% of our company.
Mm.
And they go, okay, there's the frame, there's the playground. Now we want to know the story.
Mm.
So in those environments, it's numbers first, story second. Sales environments, in money raising, it's numbers first, story second. But now in life in general, in a persuasive environment where I have a captive audience, and this is a big piece of I have a captive audience, meaning I can't be swiped. It's a story first.
So like if you're doing a keynote or even a presentation, people are in a room.
If I'm captive, yes. Now, social media, is that captive or non-captive?
It's non-captive because they
Non-captive.
can swipe.
So the biggest challenge that I made, the biggest mistake I made was because my courses were about having captive audiences, keynotes, presentations, meetings. I took that same methodology to social and I failed for 12 years.
Mm.
Nobody would watch. And I was so angry. And then I got a chip on my shoulder. What kind of world do we live in? Like this fast-paced, simple sugar environment where nobody sits and watches anything. And then somebody says, hold on a second. They have options, Rene. I'm like, well, what happened to maturity? It's like, no, it's just like self-righteous high horse. No, you have 3 seconds to audition. So what can I do in those 3 seconds? And that's where this journey over the last 5 years to understand how to write the first 3 seconds.
So how do I write the first 3 seconds?
Depends on the topic.
Okay, so let's say I'm in business. Let's just use the events industry,
Sure.
right? And I want to create a reel
Mm-hmm.
that makes people interested in what we do.
Okay.
Now, I historically have been terrible at this. You've told me.
Mm-hmm.
How do I create that first 3-second
So who's the
audition?
audience? That's the first question.
Let's just say it's people in the events industry who hire production.
So people that are the hiring people. Okay.
Yeah.
What's one of their biggest pain points that they have?
That production can be, if it fails, it's catastrophic for the event.
And give me an example of a specific common failure.
Oh, a microphone cutting out while a CEO's talking.
Okay. And so then what's the solution for it?
Hiring a company that doesn't use junk equipment and has highly skilled technical people.
Okay. What is the problem that you have to define here?
Well, the event planner doesn't sleep at night because they're up all night going, did I hire the right people? This is our first time working with them. I don't know if they're competent. Who knows if my CEO's mic cuts out, I could get fired.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so what hidden objection do people typically have or say, well, make sure your mic doesn't cut out?
What objection do they have if you say,
What's a hidden objection?
well, that you're too expensive?
Okay, perfect. So I might say, here's the number one reason your mic cuts out in the middle of your event. And no, it's not about the price of the person that you're using. So I just did two things right there. Or say, let's even rewrite that. So it's about, is it about the quality of the mic? Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
for sure.
Well, I think it's,
And the team.
okay, so I think anybody can buy quality, and not everybody can have a team. So I'd probably write it this way. Here's the number one reason that mic cuts out in the middle of your client's presentation. And no, it isn't about the quality of the mic. Everybody has quality mics. And so now the person's going, okay, well, what the hell is it?
What if that's not true though? Because
Well,
there are
hold
certain
on.
microphones that are
We can still come back
way
to that.
better than others.
We
I mean,
can
let's
still-
be honest. Okay.
I'm with you, but I look at what you are is like me. You're a purist. You're going to get into the technical side, but do people buy based on technicality?
No. They want to buy trust.
Yes. And so we have to remember that. We're going to be able to come back and say, now, there are differences in mics, but you can still have a good place with the right person behind it to make it work. And it's about the team, because I think that's your message.
Yeah, the team is everything.
The team is everything, because the team will actually choose the right mics for the
that's
situation. Right. So now we've done two things. I've hooked you, and I've covered your objection. Now, the third part, hold on. Do you need a Band-Aid?
Do I need a Band-Aid?
Yeah.
Am I cut?
Did that question feel weird?
Yeah. Yes. Am I bleeding?
Yeah. So if I were to say this, hey, dude, you're bleeding. Do you want a Band-Aid?
Then I would be like, oh, yes, please.
So there's two ways to get at the Band-Aid question. One felt awkward and intrusive. The other one felt welcomed and valuable. What's the difference?
You gave me a reason to need a Band-Aid, and then you offered a solution.
Solutions offered without problem defined are awkward, intrusive, and weird, which is 99% of social media. Hey, it's Motivation Monday. What I want you to do today, I'm like, dude, I'm motivated. I'm fine. I didn't even know there was a problem. Swipe, right? Hey, it's Tax Tuesday, and today I'm like, I don't need tax. Like, it's just this unasked for advice.
That's why it feels weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and I tell people, the way you write a hook and you read your solution is walk up to somebody and offer them that solution in the middle of lunch with their daughter. They're gonna be like, man, get out of here. Hey, everybody, it's Tax Tuesday. Get out of here. Yeah, I just want to jump on Motivation Monday. Walk up to them in lunch and say that to them. And if they tell you to get out, it's not a good hook. Right? But if I walk up to you and say, here's how the rich avoid paying taxes, you'd be like, and don't worry, what I'm about to share with you is perfectly legal. Well, okay, hold on. What talking about this? Now, all of a sudden, I've created intrigue. I'm doing that. Now I can go say what most people do when they sell their home. They take all that gain, they put it in the bank, and the IRS loves that because that's a taxable event. Don't do that. Define the problem. What you need to learn, solution, is what a 1031 exchange is. And so I can define that. But that was hook, objection, problem, solution. I follow the sequence. So now we're at this place where we say, okay, so here's the number one reason that mic is cutting out in the middle of your client's presentation. And no, it isn't just about the quality of the mic. Here's what most people do is they cut corners. They try to save costs. They look at budgets in the middle of their whole proposal process, forgetting that time of performance when they know that they need the equipment to work right. Or maybe they cut back and say, well, this team, they're new, but they're going to give us a deal. Here's the problem with that. That's in that moment is where that decision comes out to play. So here's what you need to think about according to the solution.
I feel like I just learned a lot right there. It's a lot to unpack. I'm going to go back and watch that a bunch. So you're saying, and I would imagine that's not just social media. That's sales in general. You can't just come out with what you think is the problem.
Yes, there's so many lessons in that in terms of from a sales perspective. Your solution without a problem defined is like, what's your price? Like that. Why start there? What problem are we solving? Yeah, I tell people, I say, what's the cost? The cost to bring me in or not bring me in? And they're like, I'm like, no, I'm serious. I go, because it costs you more to bring me in. You're not going to bring me in. You're smart. Why would you spend more money to solve a problem that isn't valuable? I said, but if there's a problem that I solve, which I think is why you're talking to me, that the value of that solution far exceeds any cost of bringing me in, I think you would probably think that there's a cost in not solving it. Do we agree on that? They go, yes. I said, why don't we figure out what problem we're trying to solve, what value we're trying to create? Then we figure out the solution together. And I promise you, my cost will be a lot less than the value I bring. And if I don't do that, just don't pay me. What do you think the close ratio is on that?
Like 100%.
Yeah. And by the way, and sometimes I've done this where it doesn't make sense to use me. I think there's a book that you can use. In fact, why don't you watch this podcast episode? It's right here. I'm going to send you something for free. Go do that. Like, you know what I mean? I said, no. I said, no, you'll remember me next time we have a highly valuable problem. I hope you remember me.
Jeez. So if I'm in a high pressure selling situation, right, I got to go in with my team and we've got a monster deal we're trying to pitch and stand out from everybody else. What are things that we can prepare and practice to make sure that is truly a winning pitch?
For me, and I think you do this already, so correct me if I'm wrong, I don't do proposals. They'll tell me, can you put a proposal? I said, no. And I go, and the reason why it's going to take me two weeks to write it based on what I think I can do for you. I mean, you're talking about 30 years of applied neuroscience in 400 different industries. I don't think I can do that. I go, but how about I give you 2 or 3 hours of my time? We'll do a webinar. I'll come into your office and I'll give you a taste of what it is. But all I require is you put the people, the decision makers in the room so we can deal with it. And I can do it in an hour if you want. I'd much rather spend that time, but then your people can touch, taste, feel what's going on. And then I'll put a one-pager together afterwards to describe what we do. And so I think, but what do you think your whole studio is? You create the virtual reality thing. I mean, you're already doing things saying, proposal, why don't you just come in and we'll give you an experience.
So what do you do when you have, this is like a real life issue that we deal with, and I'm sure a lot of people deal with, is when an RFP comes out and we are included as someone to propose, and we put this beautiful thing together after understanding their needs.
Yep.
And they say, just send it to us. We're not having calls or meetings and no pitches right now at this stage. Just send it over and we'll let you know if we're moving you into the pitch round.
Wonderful. Happy to do that. I do have a couple questions because I'm assuming your needs are a little bit different than others. Is that correct?
Yep.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure that I'm addressing those exact needs. Can I get 10 minutes?
Yep. But not to pitch. You can have 10 minutes right now to understand the problem.
That's what I would want.
Okay.
And then can you pitch and understanding at the same time? Are you pitching a sense of trust? Are you pitching this group is more professional? The others are asking better questions than the other people. The based on the value and the wisdom behind their questions. This isn't their first rodeo. That's a pitch without it being a pitch.
Yeah.
And so then I would get access because then now you're not just a piece of paper. You're that voice that asks these questions that's associated to that paper. I'm already slightly different. Now, at that point, we say, okay, so there's one advantage that's up there. I think in today's world, your pitching, your brand shows up before you do. It stays after you leave. What do people do the moment they say, what about this company? Where do they go?
Yeah. They
Instagram, Google, Facebook,
GPT,
anything, right? And so I think your Instagram should be the experience. Why is mine full of me speaking? That's all it is. Because I used to have these speaker reels. I don't think anybody watches them. They don't watch mine anymore. They go to my Instagram. I saw this thing you did. I was in Saudi Arabia because of a TikTok video that the son of the CEO sent to the CEO. And it's like, so all of these things you should try to really recreate that experience through social media because it's going to show up before you do. And then after they leave, who's that guy? Oh, let's show up, send them that thing. Now your social media presence and your brand becomes part of the pitch when you're not in the room.
There's a common theme I'm hearing here that I've been hearing from a number of our other guests talking about how it's not just the one-pronged approach. Like when we were talking to Chris Lindahl, he was like, yeah, you know me as a billboard guy, but like nobody ever asked me about the SEO or like our hiring or all that. So what you're saying is basically in a similar manner, it's about the entire ecosystem you put together with your brand that is preceding a conversation and then is with them after you send them a pitch.
So think about it. Social media is one. Podcast is another. I wrote a book. I do webinars, live presentations, referrals, articles. Think about just that, just as a starting place. And so there's a 7. Now, if we're to take those and your brand is in the middle and with all of these prongs, and if you were to point the messages to the middle, if the goal is to have them say the same thing, if they all say the same thing, you've achieved what I call the holy grail, which is convergent validity. All the ideas converge to validate the simple message of the brand. But so often, one thing says another thing says another thing says another. They converge to create confusion. But if all of those, you manage the brand, and brand is not just the color. It's not that this isn't the brand. This is the color scheme of the brand identity. But this stuff represents an emotion and a promise that IDCOM has made. And what is that promise? Well, it's going to be the best event experience you've ever seen. Every detail, because I already know your events. I do 200 plus events. I show up and I'm like, oh, dude, is this your event? You're like, yeah. I said, because there's a yellow brick road I got to follow. I just got to stay on that. And there's somebody that's meeting me here. They meet me there. All that stuff. Everything is flawless. The audio is circulated throughout all of the different pieces. Everything is it's flawless.
Yeah.
There's the promise of that. Now, how do you take that promise and scale that? How do you create that promise in a short video in 60 seconds? And then with every one of those promises made, this color somehow is always present. That logo just seems to be always there. It's like, so you talk about creating the brand, people start with logos. Stop doing that. Stop. That is down the list. The brand is around its ethos, the essence, the character, the brand promise, the story, the emotion that all makes a promise to you. And so then when you have that, like for example, first date with your wife, you knew this was the girl of your dreams, you want to see her again. And she's like, she plays it cool. Jessica's like, Charles, I'm not sure yet. She turns around, you're like, and then she comes back and she looks at you and she says, but if I were to see you again, Charles, it has to be under one condition. And she looks you up and down. She says, you have to promise me not to wear that jacket, because that jacket, that's an unfair advantage. She winks at you and she walks away. How are you feeling every time you wear that jacket?
Like I'm walking on a cloud.
Like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Is it because of the quality of the jacket?
No.
No, it's the color, the cut, the manufacturer. So none of the value propositions mattered in brand. What mattered were two things. One, an emotion of confidence. But confidence in what? Into a promise that it made. If I wear this jacket, I can have the girl of my dreams. That's brand. And so then this is emotion. Now, imagine a color associated to that. Imagine a message associated to that over and over and over again. Then remove the promise, see the color, feel the emotion, and the promise is there. And it's unconscious. I'll give you an example. You know Jordan's brand promise, but I bet you won't say it. What's Jordan's brand promise?
Michael Jordan?
Yeah. His Jordan brand.
I don't know.
You do know. Watch.
Just do it.
If you wear these shoes, you can be like.
Be like me?
Be like Mike.
Be like Mike.
Right?
Goes to show how much I know about sports around here, guys, okay?
Well, but
I grew up playing chess, Rene.
Yeah,
I don't know this sports ball stuff.
But it's be like Mike, right? So the hose is be like Mike, be like Mike. So they didn't talk about the quality of the shoe, the structure, the color, none of it. They just watch him flying through the air, dunking, graceful. And if I wear these, I can run faster, jump higher, and be like that guy.
Yeah.
And so then you wear it. None of it had anything to do with the quality. It was a $7 shoe to make, they said.
Yeah, probably.
That's what they said. It was like $7. And so there's all of these brand promises. And so then now we go, okay, how do I keep that clear brand promise through every rendition of who I am, right? Because we said we're doing this. This is about leadership. Okay. Does this podcast contribute to the IDCOM promise, right? I think it does, because who's making the decision to do this? Leaders. Well, we're going to spend millions of dollars to put a bunch of people, stakeholders, and I'm going to give a couple people the attention. Meaning, like, that's what I tell people is, you're going to give me the attention of your entire company for an hour. We should probably talk about your business, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
I want to be an extension of that. And that's one of the things that makes me different as a speaker, is that I will take the time to understand that. And then I'm on stage and all the leaders are like, I need him in front of my room more because he's driving our business forward. But you're saying you're pulling all these people together, and one mishap could create the emotional disaster that people remember and go, this sucked. Or we could have that right, and they go, wow, I'm working for the right place. What's the value of retention? I'm not in events. I'm in retention and acquisition.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think like every single show we do is like a shuttle launch. It has to go right. I mean, you think about billion-dollar brands putting their leaders and keynotes and celebrities on stage, you can't have that go wrong.
No.
That has to go right. Okay, so I want to ask you on the branding vein, because we live in a world where it's like, you should be a brand. Everyone's a brand.
Mhm.
You're a brand. I'm a brand. We're a brand. How do you even begin? What is a personal brand?
The recognition first that everything you do is contributing to the expectation that people have of you.
Mm,
It's always there. So when we talk about leadership branding, it's about what kind of leadership is expected of you before you walk into a room. So think about it. How many leaders have you worked with that you know they're in the meeting? You better have your numbers clean and your pencil sharp because they will
yes.
ask. And when I know those people are there and they say a number, I'm like, is that roughly? And they go, exactly. And I'm like, I'm just kidding, right? Tell your CPA, your CFO roughly. And they're like, no, exactly.
Precisely.
Precisely. And so that's part of their leadership brand. There's some people that have their DEI. You better be clear on your language because they're going to call you out. And there's some people that, they're going to make promises that they won't deliver.
Mm.
That's a brand.
Or like that person is always going to be late,
Yes.
right?
There's
We
a
all have
brand.
those friends.
I just expect it.
Yeah.
And so there's the person. So the brand is that promise. It's not always positive. So the realization that I have question is what do I want it to be?
Mm.
What do I want it to be? And that becomes interesting because some people start creating a brand that they want to be that they aren't.
So they're like, I want to be this thing, but that's not in my DNA.
It's not in my DNA. So I'm going to go stand in front of an expensive car. There's branding. That's not your car. I was coming out of a luxury real estate event in Miami a few months ago, and they go, "We want to do some interview with you." I said, "Great." I said, "We're going to stand next to Ferrari." I said, "No, we won't."
You said that?
I said, "I'm not standing in front of that thing. I don't own it."
Did they own it?
I don't think so.
So it's like,
Oh, it was the camera crew, right? It was the camera crew. They were good guys, really, really good guys. And
but that was what they assumed would be popping.
Yeah, because it's luxury real estate. And I said, "I'm not standing. I don't own that thing."
Yeah.
I go, one, I don't fit in it. It's a Ferrari. I don't fit in a Ferrari. I love it, but I'm just like this. I don't fit in that.
I always wanted to have a Lamborghini. And then I saw one in person for the first time. I was like, I would barely fit laying across the top of it, let alone inside of it.
I made a mistake of renting one. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rent one for today. And it got there. I had to, I have a video of me getting in. I had to go head first, put both hands on the opposite seat, turn a hip, get one knee in.
She had to like crawl in like the
one knee
lunar
in,
module.
sit my thing, then pull my knee up to my thing, set it in, set both my knees right here, which my hips are not that flexible. And I'm going, and I had to go like this because it was right here. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. I go open the top. I was like, okay, so now the top's here, but the thing is right here, so I can't see.
You're getting bugs hitting you in the forehead.
I'm literally doing this to try to see what's going on. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm not knocking it, but it's just not me.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not your brand.
So now what I did tell him, I said, you know what? You want to use a Ferrari? Start filming. I'm going to be looking at it, admiring it. I'm like, nice car. It's not mine. I said, but it's interesting. The whole idea of luxury and what people will spend for. So I used it as a prop.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be clear that it wasn't mine.
Mm.
And so that felt in alignment with my ethos. It felt in alignment with who I am, because I just don't have one. And so the point being is, where do we begin? You don't begin with the fake jets. You don't begin with all of that stuff.
I was just going to say, I mean, I've gotten requests from people many times that they want to shoot in my plane for their influencer stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense unless it's for like a movie or a TV show. Like,
yeah,
you're not using it for influence.
Well, that's where I think where it went awry is that people abused of this. I'm going to pretend that I have all of these things, and then you'll want to buy from me in some way or follow me. But then the question is once I get to game time, do I have the experience? And that's where a lot of people crumble. It's like, one of my good friends, 1998, I'll never forget this. He said, Rene, let people test you for depth. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're showing everything you know about the brain. And he goes, just show enough. And then when they ask, go a little bit deeper. They ask more, go a little bit deeper. Now they're in the deep end. You're up to your ankles. They're up to their neck. And they're looking at you going, okay, this is the guy. And I was like, I love that idea. So let people test you for depth. You may not see it right away, because I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I try to be pretty joking, but with the work comes, that's when I don't mess around anymore. Only reason is because I have opinions. And I also care about the result, but I only do that in my lane. I don't step outside of my lane. So that's the other piece too, is from branding is what's your lane? What is the ethos, that thing that you truly have credibility in? Now, somebody might say, well, I'm 20, 23, whatever. I don't have a lane yet. I'm like, yeah, you do. You have 23 years experience in what? Well, you're an athlete. Okay, so you worked out, you played college ball. Not many people play college ball. What were the disciplines that got you there? What were the things that you did? What were the things you gave up? Those are all things you have ethos in. But don't try to be an expert when you're brand new. Okay, you're in real estate, and I don't have any credibility. I said, yeah, you do. You're young and you're fresh and you hustle. I don't know the answer, yeah, but I promise you, I'll get it faster than anybody else. And I have an amazing team behind me. I'm here to work. I'm available 24. So you have time and you have energy. There's your ethos in that sense. We all have it in some way, shape, or form. Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Why? Did you have to nurture and run a business from home, make sure everybody got fed on time, timelines, details, and tasks? All of that stuff fits. I'm nurturing, I understand, I care. That's awesome.
So the awkwardness we see with people's brands maybe not feeling right is it's what they're trying to be is truly not who they are. And that's where our spidey senses tell us
And I
something
don't
isn't lining
blame
up
them, by
here.
the way. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't blame them is because we're all trying to be better in some way. So we were always taught, follow those who are successful. So we're going to do what they did, but they didn't see what they did prior to that to get there. The unsexy work. Good friend Flex Lewis, remember you, our friend Flex?
Flex is a great guy.
He said, excuse me, can we swear on this one?
Yep.
He goes, put your fucking phone down in the gym, and then I want to see how many reps you do. What happens when no one's watching? When no one's in the gym and it's just you? That's when I'll see who you really are. And I was like, oh my God, that's so good. Who am I when no one's watching? How many reps will I really do? How many? And reps, by the way, might be practicing your speech. The reps might be, I always tell people, do you want to understand Charles? Have him give you a tour. And as he's talking to you, he's scanning every detail, and he's laughing and he's joking. He's telling these stories. But then there's this other side of him that's going, why is that wire not folded right? That wire's twisted. Hey, will you grab that off the floor? I need this here. But yeah, so one of the things, I mean, we just love this building. Hey, can you make sure that that's over here? Why is that box over here? Guys, we need to get this thing done. But so yeah, it's one of those things. It's like there's two sides to him, but there's the obsessive side around creating the perfect experience. And then there's this great fun loving relationship building guy. And that's you, right? And you have both of those. But some people might say, well, I'm just going to be just like Charles. They forget this psychotic side of the detail that he has on everything else that he's looking
I'm
at.
yelling about the plumbing of the women's restroom during the podcast.
Yes. And so those are the pieces that people don't see. They don't see, they say, want to get on stage. Renee, what'd you do to get here? I'm like, oh my God. Do you know how many empty rooms I had to sit in front of? How many times I heard somebody that I needed to be in front of was in a city, and I flew myself there, planted myself in the lobby just to so when they walk by, they go, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I was in the neighborhood. I had an event coming up. Hey, what are you guys doing? And then every once in a while I get invited to the lunch. Like, you did that? I'm like, yes, all the time. And then a lot of times it didn't work. It just didn't work. But it was like, nobody sees that.
Well, I love that you brought that up, because as you're growing as a professional, no matter where you're at, even if you're the CEO of a big company, we all have those times where we experimented with things that didn't work. And I feel like I actually learned more when something went wrong than when something went right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you have to trial and error. You have to try things. It's part of the process. And I think what they say, awkwardness is a requirement for growth. Failure's price of entry. Like it's you have to be able to fail. And it sounds so damn cliche, but it just is. Like, you have to be able to fail. You have to be able to try something. Well, that sucked. Okay, I tried this. No, that didn't work. And so then you start manufacturing failure in early. Okay, I'm going to set up places that I can go fail. That's what open mic night is. Again, go up, fail there. Don't fail at the special on HBO. Fail in the 300 attempts prior to that, so that you go, by the time you get to the special, you know this was going to work. You already know the reaction of the audience before they know the reaction of the audience. And so, like, you watch my talks, I said you might hear some of the same things because I already know the reaction. I don't have to worry about the reaction. Well, I've done it a few thousand times, and it's just there. I can change the tie down, the messaging at the end, but I know the setup is going to be on point.
So if I want to spend more deep time on myself, really figuring out who I am, who my brand is, how do I get better at communicating that, not being awkward about it? Is there some sort of structure or methodology to go about this? Or is it just go sit in a quiet room every
No,
day?
we spent years working with copywriters to really perfect the questions to extrapolate it. I mean,
You sent me that ethos
yeah. Did you do it
document.
yet?
Yeah, I'm almost done with it.
Okay.
In fact, I think I am done with it.
It's intense, isn't it?
It's really intense. I caught myself sitting there going, I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me
Yeah.
what I thought about this as a child.
Yeah.
And is the thoughts I had as a child are those even valid?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like writing this stuff down using
Oh.
that tool. What is that tool? The one where you
Whisper flow.
whisper flow.
Isn't that the best?
So you hold, well, you can hit spacebar and it'll just stay open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love how it punctuates for me.
Oh, it's the hack of all hacks, I think. But those questions, those 30 questions, took me 8 years to
Did they really?
Oh yeah. And we just created a new one, which is, what's your money ethos? What's your money story? So I'm working with Brett Tanner on this one, and we were talking, and I did his ethos, and I'm like, hold on a second. And I interviewed him because this is a guy who's figured out money and investments. And you remember, Brett, were you at the mastermind for that?
Yeah, I think I met him.
Yeah. And we created this, I think it was 50 questions, and I had him go through it first. And he's like, oh my God, this is it. Because we identified as a kid his first experiences with money, and that he didn't have money, but his parents were abundant in their thinking. And he looks at money not as wealth, but as freedom, or money as a tool to deploy. And the wealth is freedom. It's not things. It's like all these things but then the childhood stories that supported it. And then we can identify the things that could shift. So when it comes to personal branding, I mean, yes, I have a methodology for it. I would just, for somebody who doesn't have the money to invest, I think we charge like 15 grand to go through that process, is go to your favorite AI and say, help me understand me, interview me. Just try that.
So like GPT or Grok or any of those, you just tell it to
whatever.
interview you.
Yep. Interview me. I want to understand my ethos. I want to understand this, and go through that process. And then once you feel like you've exhausted it, then say, put this into a document, into a narrative, and then watch what happens. And you'll be like, you'll read it. You go, oh my God. Now, it might not be the same exact questions, but it's a great starting place.
Yeah. I think about the questions you gave me in that document, and some of them really got me thinking about down to the core what I believe on certain things.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening. I can't wait to see what you do with it. You were like, do this and then send it to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be intense.
It gets emotional sometimes, because like people see things that they have felt and try to articulated and captured. And it's like, you understand yourself. You realize there was a method to my madness. There was an underlying process. I didn't really realize it. And then going forward, what it allows you to do is be so much more intentional about how you do things. And then you can take that document and make it part of the product knowledge or the knowledge base of your AI. And so then you're speaking and writing from that same voice, that same content, that same idea.
So when you think about, you've watched high performers, you've coached some huge names. And when you watch kind of the common threads that the people who perform under pressure consistently have, what is it that they all have that's different than everybody else?
Trained in managing their biology. So you go to you talk to a Navy SEAL, and the majority of my conversations with Navy SEALs, and I've met Marcus Luttrell, a chance to spend 3 days with Chris Kyle before he was murdered, Rob O'Neill, who is known for the one who shot Bin Laden, a bunch of other folks. And our conversations are always around breathing and managing stress. And so it's in that
Breathing.
moment, just managing stress. And so Rob has a great story of things that happened right prior to, let's say, some sort of tactic, breaching a door, and how some of the newer guys would be like, let's do this, let's go. And, he has to remind them, they've got the push to talks. And I'm taking his story. And he says, it's a push. It's a think, then push, then talk. It's not a push to think. Because that goes to everybody. Hey, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden the chaos spreads like wildfire. He goes, but so does calm. And he gets on there. He's like, everybody stop and take a deep breath. This is a push to talk, not push to think. I need you to think, then I want you to push, and then I want you to talk. And then all of a sudden, just gets right back down. That level of leadership in that moment, it was about biology. A Navy SEAL, a professional athlete, an executive, a speaker, at a certain level, they all have the same know-how. They have the same speed, but they have different biology that functions in that moment that is different. And that to me is the highest level. LaShawn Merritt, 4 gold medals. I was talking to him yesterday, and he trained for 15 years to run 40 seconds. 15 years for 40 seconds. And it's like, you want to know what it takes for that? Flex Lewis, 7 consecutive Mr. Olympias. That means you're nothing but net for 7 years. Physically, diet, everything, workouts. How? Like, that's a totally different mindset, and something that most of us probably won't understand. But it's fascinating to talk about and then say, can I take a fraction of that and implement to make my life better? Yes, 100%. Do you need to be that? Because that level of performance, it's not for all of us. It isn't. It's some of that stuff's not for me either, because what comes with it. Some people want a little bit more, I hate the word balanced, or maybe a more dispersed and integrated life, and maybe a more harmonious life, because there's a lot of disharmony sometimes that happens in that. And so they have to then go through a lot to unravel that level of focus to be able to re-enter the civilian world, if you will.
How do I control my biology better in high pressure situations?
Breathing.
What do you mean?
So the controlling your biology really means it's either the sympathetic nervous system or the parasympathetic nervous system.
What's the difference?
So we have 2 nervous systems that are antagonistic, meaning they cannot be on at the same time. It's either one or the other. Sympathetic nervous system is the excitatory response, right? Parasympathetic is the relaxed response. You can't have the lights on and off at the same time. It's either one or the other. So that's why they're antagonistic. And so when you are in a high pressure situation, a lot of times we forget to breathe. If you get to breathe, you don't get oxygen. If you don't get oxygen, your brain thinks one thing: I'm going to die. No different than I were to choke you. That's why that's scary, because there's no oxygen. If I could choke your arm, you'd be like, that's not scary. Why all of a sudden around my neck it's scary versus my arm? Because I can't breathe. So it's not about the choke, it's about the lack of oxygen. So then I just take lack of oxygen and apply that. I just stopped breathing. Now all of a sudden I start to breathe. My brain gets the oxygen it needs. Sympathetic nervous system calms down. So now here's the thing. You can't say, you can't just go, oh, I'm going to shut off my sympathetic. No, you have to do parasympathetic activities that you can control that have a secondary effect to engage it. That's why Navy SEALs made popular box breathing. 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold 4 seconds. That's pretty hard to do, especially in the middle of battle, but they do that.
And that helps them control how worked up or calm they are?
Well, it helps fully integrate their brain. So they can, and the other way of thinking about it is operating from system 1 or system 2. System 1 is the fast thinking reactionary brain, which is what a lot of their enemies are in. Navy SEAL operates out of system 2, right? It's much slower. Time slows down. That's why, like Barry Sanders, they said that he could just see things. And everyone was, I'm going to kill you. And he was just moving through stop, start, moving, and just time slowed down. His perception of time slowed down so he can maneuver. That's biology. It's not magic, it's biology. And so his brain functions differently. Remember Spider-Man when he first got his skill and he was fighting whatever his name was, I forget the villain, and he throws a punch and he's just like, he's watching the punch and he just goes, and he sees the fist go back, he goes, huh. And he'll go back. Now that was coming violently, but he was like, interesting. I mean, imagine if someone's moving in slow motion, how you could fight them and you're in fast. That's what system 2 can do. But it's also, the problem with system 2 is that it's a slave to system 1. So if system 1 is engaged, sympathetic, system 2 goes away. So you have to learn how to create safety and calm for system 1 so system 2 can arise.
So you're consciously controlling how worked up or not you get using
You
breathing.
have to train yourself.
Yeah, because I was wondering, is there ever a point where your subconscious learns this from consciously teaching it, where all of a sudden you're in a situation, but your subconscious slows you down?
So in our courses, so another way of triggering system 1 is put you in front of a room and you just all of a sudden, it's just that stress level goes up. And so you have to, like, if I'm training you how to shoot a gun for war, I'm not going to train you in a room with air conditioning and Mozart and earmuffs. I'm going to put you, because then you're learning under those conditions. But now I put you in a system one world where explosions and people are trying to kill you. You're in a different biology. So what you learn in the room, Mozart room, it doesn't apply in a war. So I have to train you in warlike conditions to get you ready for war. And I have to train you in high stress environments to get you ready for a stage. I have to train you in high stress environments to get you ready in a self-promotional environment to do that. So when the stress goes high, your brain knows what to do.
So how would you get me ready to go in front of a big stage? I'm scared of crowds. I don't know what to do. I have to do this presentation.
Train you in front of a crowd. Start and stop you and interrupt you.
So that's what Amplify is.
Yeah. And so I'm like, you're standing up, you're hunching. Why is your arm that
Okay,
way?
because when I went through it and you kept cutting me off, it actually made it way worse.
Mhm.
Like I was like, okay, I'm already nervous, and here you are correcting me in front of all these people that I don't know.
Mhm.
But then by the end, it felt good.
Yeah. The purpose was to, a good friend, Jonathan, client, he's ridiculously talented and had this big event coming up. He came to AmpCon and our big event. And I always choose one person right after lunch that I tell people was a guest speaker. They don't know who it is. It's usually a client of mine. And he struggled with anxiety and stress. He's very talented. And so I said, our next speaker, make sure you come back after lunch. I did this whole intro. And our next speaker is Jonathan Haddad. He's like,
Oh, so he doesn't
he
know
has
he's
no
coming
idea.
up.
And he gets up there and I just said, don't F it up.
So this is part of you coaching him.
Yes.
It's like putting him in front of your audience.
My audience. And so he gets up there and he's like, okay, so my name is Jonathan Haddad. And I just stopped in front of the group. I said,
In front of everybody.
everybody. And he's like, okay, but he's so coachable. This is what makes him so unique. And he's like, okay, did him 2-3 times. Then he goes, I go, your story. He goes, oh, and he just starts in the story and crushes it. He gets off stage. He looks at me. He goes, what were you doing? And I just stopped him. I go, it'll never be that hard again. Ever.
Yeah.
And he goes, I go, are you worried about your event? He goes, oh no. I go, because it's never going to be like that. You're just put in front of 1,000 people with no prep, no nothing, coached, stripped down, and you still crushed it. Imagine if you get a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
And he's like, I get it.
Yeah.
And so there's ways you have to learn in those environments and you have to survive through them and then get trained through it.
So if I can't get in front of a big crowd, right? I got something coming up and I need to speak in front of people, but I can't practice in front of a crowd. Should I
find a crowd?
Okay. I can't just
Rotary
practice in a room with a phone.
Get your team. You got one right near. Put
Sure.
them in a room. Like go on social media and practice there.
Yeah.
Go live.
Oh, go live. Yeah, that's a good
There's
idea.
always a crowd. Where there's a will, there's a way. That sounds cliche, but find it.
Is there value in practicing alone and recording it and watching? Or is it
you'll get the rote routine, but I can have you memorize something and then have you regurgitate it in front of me, and then I put you under a little stress, you'll forget about it.
Oh.
Because the limbic system is where the gateway to long-term memory is. And if you feel threatened, that reticular activating system literally shuts cortical access off to that.
What, he shuts what off?
Cortical access.
What's that mean?
So there's no neurons that can pass.
Oh, so like shuts it down.
Shuts it down completely. You're literally, your brain stops, the lights go off in that part of the brain because you don't need memory. You need fight or flight, see to the end of your fingertips. How am I going to get out of here?
You can't even regurgitate something because that part is closed off now.
And so the way to do it, take a deep breath. So my favorite breathing is diaphragmatic breathing, right?
Okay.
So I take a deep breath in as deep as I can. And I'll hold for 2-3 seconds. Then I'm going to exhale for 6 to 8 seconds.
Oh, I do feel more calm.
Now you just keep doing that. Now you can do that.
You ever get lightheaded?
In the middle of a presentation. Well, what that means is you probably went too far. So you find your groove. If the exhale causes you stress, it's too long. I purse my lips. I make that noise from a feedback loop. I don't go. If I do that over and over, that's the formula for hyperventilation. So your exhale has to be longer than the inhale. If it's the exhale, if the exhale is shorter than the inhale, that's hyperventilation. Right?
Yeah. And then you can get dizzy and pass out.
Mm-hmm.
This has been so good. You got to tell me before we finish. You wrote a book, Amplify Your Influence, transform how you communicate and lead. Amazon?
Yeah. Barnes & Noble.
What am I going to learn in here?
That breaks down the entire science of everything we talked about in here, but it's going to walk you through the building of it. So you actually one of the OG books before it was bestseller. That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah, one of the originals.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of the first people to buy it.
Yeah, you were. I remember that. But it's going to walk through the science of it. It's going to walk you through the process. And so people that go through my course use it as a reference guide. Probably the biggest compliment I get is people read it 2 and 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, because they want to gather, and then they have it's before talk. They go back to the piece, and they go back to all the questions. There's a full index in there too, so it's like a reverse Google search. You say, "What do you need?" Go to the index, and it'll tell you what page it's on.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got things in here like the art and science of storytelling, body language and presence, interpersonal communication. You talk about love and other things.
Mm-hmm. It's an acronym: listen, observe, validate, expand. Yeah. So love is the methodology for them. Listen, if I want to really connect with somebody, I ask you a question. I'm going to listen for something that I like. I'm going to observe your body language on the response that you give me. And if you're kind of, yeah, that's fine. That's an important message. And I'm going to validate that, meaning like, wow, you don't seem too excited about that.
So you're actually going to be like, I'm noticing that you're not interested.
Well, but it's just a validation, right? Or as they say something they like, oh, that's really awesome. And then I'm going to ask an expanding question on that. I listen, observe, validate, expand, and I just spiral on that. And I just start digging a conversation that has depth. I'm not leading it, by the way. I'm creating a stage for the person. So I'm going to listen to what's going on. Like, hey, where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Minnesota.
Well, what part?
I grew up in Eden Prairie.
Oh, no way. I didn't realize it was Eden Prairie.
Yeah, that's where you live.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so now Eden Prairie, did you go to high school there?
Yeah.
Nice. What year? Do you still like Eden Prairie? Or did you move away?
No, I moved away when I got married. We moved to Maple Grove.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you miss anything about Eden Prairie?
Yeah, I was a firefighter in Eden Prairie
Okay.
for 5 years. So yeah, I missed parts of it. I missed riding around on fire engines. That was cool.
A firefighter. Why does that not surprise me? Yeah. And so now what was it that got you to be a firefighter?
I was trying to put on a party at my dad's airplane hangar at the time. And I had to call the fire marshal to come over to make sure that I wasn't going to get shut down. And he came out to the hangar, which is not made for lots of people. And I was trying to distract him from his work by being like, "Oh, I've always thought about being a firefighter." And they get a recruiting bonus. And he was like, "Really?" And I totally took his attention away from the checking out the place to recruiting me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to recruitment.
Do you miss anything about it?
I miss helping people. I really liked being there when people were having tough times. I think I learned a lot about how to be not freaked out and high strung in stressful situations.
It's really awesome. Do you feel like that set you up for how you lead today?
Yeah, for sure.
In what
Yeah,
way?
because like during COVID, when we had everything was burning, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
I stayed really calm, and I found peace in being calm and then helping other people feel like everything's going to be okay. It just naturally came to me because I've been in so many. I mean, I've seen things that people shouldn't see from being a firefighter, and it taught me to first of all that nothing is really all that bad.
Do you notice how this feels very real, this conversation?
Yeah, because I'm reciting memory.
Listen, observe, validate, expand. And people say, it feels robotic. I said, once you do it, it becomes the most natural conversation there is. And how much did I talk?
Not much. Yeah.
Did you,
So good.
Did you
Oh,
enjoy it?
yeah, I was reminiscing. I
Yeah.
was like, this is great. I'm
And-
talking about something I haven't talked about in a while.
And what's wild is, from an influence perspective, is Dr. Robert Cialdini says that we like people who like us. It's one of his laws.
Mhm.
And so if I take a vested interest in you, instead of trying to get you to like me, I'm going to take a vested interest in trying to get to like you.
Yeah.
And that's a way to really dig deep on somebody to really get to know them. And the end result is you end up liking me too.
Is that the same study they studied about the kids who were popular in school? You remember that one where they were like, they found across all of the kids that were the most popular across the country, the one thing, and there was only one thing that they all had in common, and that's that person who was the most popular liked everybody.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it shows up over and over and over again. We like people who like us. So that's the love method.
Jeez. That's so good.
It's kind of fun, right?
I want to just ask you one last thing. When you think about after everything is finished, what do you want to be known for?
I think this is a deep one. That you felt successful around me. I think that's it. That you felt like you could do more than you realized. That the life you wanted, and I'm not talking about fame or even money. I'm talking about the life you wanted. That because you knew me, that felt more attainable. I'd probably say that.
Well, you're already doing that, man. Every time I hang out with you, I'm like, why don't we hang out more? You make me feel so good. You're good
I
at
feel
that.
the same about you, brother. Like you make. I said everybody needs a Charles in their life, like this hype man that's genuine, that truly cares, and it's a gift. So feelings mutual, man.
Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, this was fun. I forgot we were doing a podcast.
Yeah, I do too.
Hey, if you like this episode, make sure you subscribe, share it with somebody you like, and of course, make sure you check out my company, IDCOM. We produce conferences and events all over the US, and if you know of a conference or an event that's looking for the best company in the business, check out idcom.com.